Hello and welcome to Veterans of the Valley. I'm Tom Turpeyville. The 28th Naval Mobile Construction Battalion, the 28th Seabees that is, can trace its roots to before World War II, where after D-Day it helped close up and secure Omaha Beach. Mike Guidry is rightfully proud of the history of the 28th, as he was part of it and still is today. Mike Guidry spent 6 months in Iraq at Camp Fallujah and Al-Assad, attached to the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force, working together to ensure what is believed to be a successful surge that has decreased significantly the casualties in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He anticipates redeployment in 2010 with Afghanistan his next orders. Please welcome EO2 Mike Guidry to Veterans of the Valley. Mike, it's great to have you. Thank you again for your service and a really fascinating story about the Seabees. When I think about Seabees, I always think back to World War II, and you think about them in the Pacific and building runways and building shacks and like Guadalcanal and all that. But when you think of the Seabees in the Iraqi war, that's sort of a new concept to a lot of people. Talk a little bit about where you were, where you went, and what you did as a member of the 28th. So sort of an overview of what you all did.
Absolutely. There was about 500 of us total. And then thank you. It is an honor to be on the show, and I appreciate everything that you do as well for us as veterans. About 500 of us spread out, not only in Iraq but in Afghanistan as well. We were operating in the Al Anbar province, which is mostly all Marine-controlled area over there, which consists of Camp Fallujah and Al-Assad. Okay, so when we first flew in, March the 10th was when we actually boots on the ground. Our
2007.
Of 2007,
right.
Correct. Our convoy security team was already in place, already conducting convoy movements, training with the battalion that we were going to be relieving. I was in Camp Fallujah for approximately 1 month. We did have it was just the surge was just getting started. Right. We had a couple of mortar attacks. The alarm will go off. You just hit the deck, which nobody did. Everybody pretty much just stood there. It was kind of like a fire drill at a high school or something. But the mortars were going, mortars as well as then we had outgoing artillery, which it was deafening. We thought we were under attack a lot when we first got there, but we realized that was the Marines shooting back.
Right.
So I worked in the Combat Operations Center, COC, like I said, for about a month. From there, flew to Al-Assad. They wanted me to be over there working the COC in that theater. That's where that's where our commanding officer was at, as well as all of our operations personnel.
Right.
Camp Fallujah was our Delta Company, which is our air det unit.
You went by chopper. Right.
I went by CH-53 Super Stallion. In fact, with that trip to Camp Fallujah, we had to do a combat extract. There was also the helo just banked on its side. We did a complete turnaround. This is the middle of the night. You notice that there's two 50 caliber gunners. They're Marines. They're constantly scanning the area on either side of you, and they're just going crazy hunting for something with these night vision goggles on. Everything is totally blacked out, and we went in and landed like a hard land, went straight down, came down, and on board came in a bunch of Marines. They were just pulling them out of the area, and we flew on like there was nothing. Towards the end of the tour, when it was all said and done, when I did another helo ride, these Marines were kicked back, relaxed. There wasn't any more of this, constantly looking for something like they thought something was going to happen.
Right.
But in Al-Assad, Camp Fallujah, or Al-Assad, we, Combat Operations Center there, monitored traffic, both air and ground movements, and did a lot of what's called public affairs, PAO position, dealing with building our cruise book, photography, as well as some video work as well that I did.
Indeed. We're going to talk a lot about that, the video that you did. As a matter of fact, it's going to be the creation of a couple of more shows on Veterans of the Valley. We'll talk about that a little bit later. A construction battalion, that's what Seabees do, and that's what you all did. And one of the many things that you did that you talked to me about was the construction of crow's nests. Talk just a little bit about that, but not a whole lot, because we've got a clip from your video to show to the folks, but just sort of a quick, what's a crow's nest?
Crow's nest is basically what you'd consider like a deer stand. They took a ballistic glass off of the Humvees, which are being phased out for the new JERV vehicle, the MRAD vehicles. Not to go into a whole lot of, it is a classified item still to this day, but they would set these up as the Marines were pushing forward. They would set these up, as a backup. Marines would sit in there, and this was a major part of the surge and for success as well.
So as a matter of fact, it is a classified item, and as a matter of fact, you'll be able to see in this clip that we're going to show you right now that can't show a whole lot of it or say a whole lot about it, but here's a clip from Mike Guidry's video talking about these crow's nests. Let's take a look at it right now.
I'm here with MM1 Howell. Petty Officer Howell is one of the crew leads over a construction project called the Crow's Nest that we're going to talk to you about. Petty Officer Howell's from Louisiana. He's going to tell you a little bit about where he's at and what they're doing.
Yes, I'm Petty Officer Howell from Mandeville, Louisiana, a little north of New Orleans. And the project we're working on is called the Crow's Nest. It's a portable unit that's going to be utilized by the Marine Corps on remote locations. Provides them a lot of protection from incoming fire, both small arms and upper range weapons. The unit is somewhat of a classified item, but it's being constructed on site here with the materials that we have locally and it's being shipped in. The units that we're going to produce are going to be lifted to a vehicle, brought on site, and Lieutenant can go into more of the details as far as its security measures.
Roger that. Yeah. Once these units arrive on site, the idea is to be a pick-and-place security observation tower for the Marine Corps to use. And as MM1 said, these are classified force protection items, so this is about the extent of what we can show in this video. The other pieces are obviously in another location on the base.
Pretty fascinating, indeed. Mike, you talked about these crow's nests. They would be set 100, 200 yards apart, and they would be at the main supply routes or near the main supply routes where the enemies were setting the IEDs, and the whole idea was to prevent that, right?
Exactly. Once the Marines would move through, the problem that they would have was that the insurgents would just hide out, and then once the Marines would push through, they would set these IEDs up again, and it's like they did nothing. So with these crow's nests in place, you had a Marine or two, three, you never knew. And then also some of these crow's nests actually had silhouettes, so you never knew if there was actually someone in there or not. And of course, our Marines are trained as snipers, the best in the world there, and so they would take these guys out as soon as they saw somebody approaching there that looked suspicious.
Right. So they never appeared to be empty, because if they were empty, the bad guys could blow them up. So,
indeed.
And you didn't want that. Stationed, like you said, at Fallujah and Al-Assad. Talk a little about, you were in communications.
Correct.
That was your unit. Talk about communications. Expand a little bit more on sort of what you did from the public affairs deal. We talked about the video, and that there was other things you did to sort of get the good word out about what the 28th was doing, right?
Did monthly newsletters. These were like familygrams that were sent out back home. Very helpful to the family members. Basically, what I would do, though, is different officers and as well as enlisted personnel would make up these family letters, and I would just make them into graphics and make them suitable for use on the computer for the internet, as well as then we did the command coin as well, which you have a copy of, or
right.
you have.
You gave me one, thank you.
There you go, and then of course the cruise book, but day to day the video was pretty much as far as the public affairs that I did.
I want to make it clear that building crow's nests was just a very, very, very small percent of what you did in the service.
Yes.
You also did a lot as far as rebuilding the country, plumbing. the mundane things that have to be done to rebuild the country. And because of that, the Iraqi people, you were very popular with the Iraqi people because you were there to rebuild what war had done to them, right?
Indeed. Operating in the COC, you got to see the war unfold. So, I knew what was going on at all times. Never once did I hear any complaints from any Iraqis that our convoy security elements, any of our Seabees that are out there in the field came across. Everybody was very, very eager to talk with us, share stories, thank us, and then they would exchange gifts with each other. It was just really fascinating, beautiful thing that went on over there.
I want to go to some photographs that Mike Guidry has supplied for us here, some pictures taken while he was in Iraq. And the first picture he didn't supply for us, that is from Google Earth. Thank you to Google Earth. And this gives some sort of an idea of the map of what we're talking about. In red, you can see Baghdad, where my very amateur-looking pushpin is right there in the middle of Baghdad, and then Camp Fallujah. That would be to the west, right? I guess
that's
that would
correct.
be to the west. Camp Fallujah, you can see about the distance there, and then Al-Assad is just south and west of the river. What river is that?
That'd be the Euphrates.
The Euphrates River.
Yes.
So that's sort of the geography that we're talking about where Fallujah and Al-Assad are in relation to the capital, Baghdad. Let's go ahead and move on to the next picture. Now there you are, and I want you, yeah, there you are. You are an Aggie. We're going to talk about that later. You graduated from Sam Houston State, but you consider yourself an Aggie. You
Absolutely.
work for University Police Department, and talk about that missile.
Well, this is Al-Assad Air Base, is the largest Marine-controlled air base in Iraq. They consist of VA-6B Prowlers, AVAB Harriers, as well as F-18D Hornets. And then they also have helos that fly out of there. This is a Harrier here with a Maverick missile up underneath, and we were just wanting to go over there and just do some photo ops, and had the sticker on there and stuck it on there and forgot about it. So I went back to go retrieve it. That was given to me as a gift. And it was nowhere to be found. I went back to the exact plane that I knew it was on, and they told me, well, we used a few missiles and attacked some insurgents, so it probably very well is, left in a house somewhere.
Right.
So anyway,
we
gave them
with the sticker on it. It did
with the
its job.
sticker on it. That it did. We definitely Aggie Land said howdy damn it to some insurgents over there.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, let's move on to the next one. There's showing the colors.
Yep, that'll be in Camp Fallujah. That's we still had our Humvee vehicles there for they were replaced with the JERV vehicles. That was like within a week after we first got into Fallujah, right there.
Okay, move on. There you are at work.
This will be in the COC. We did major construction in there as well. Everything was moved to the other side of the table there. I was the pay officer of the watch, then we had another watch officer that was on the other side, and two-person integrity at all times. Basically what you have there is these monitors there you can't see, so that would be deemed classified, but you could see all the events that are going on. There's this little program to the right screen there that just, you look up events that happened over the past 24 hours. You have what's called a Merc chat as well. The Merc chat is basically like your simple Yahoo Messenger. You can talk to anybody. We were able to talk to the British. We were able to talk to aircraft. We were able to call in unmanned aerial vehicles, though we never did. And then we have a system called the CPOF, which is a Command Post of the Future, a remarkable, amazing piece of product built by General Dynamics. And we're able to see every single piece of equipment that was out there, helos as well as our convoys. And that's how we were able to track as well. And also we were able to use what's called the Blue Force Tracker, and that's a way we could actually communicate with our convoys through a secure line of communication just by typing out messages back and forth. So it will eliminate communications, radio communications.
Okay, good picture.
This will be our Command Master Chief Fletcher. He was our highest enlisted person there. And this is the same, this is in the COC, and you can see behind you there's the Blue Force Tracker as well as the Merc in the middle there.
Okay. There's you with the commander?
Me with Commander Sharton, who is now Captain Sharton. I'd already had this medal, but they issued me another one. This is my expert rifle on the M16 rifle.
Now, he's a Texan, is that right?
That's correct. He lives in Katy, Texas.
I see.
Absolutely.
I see. The video will really show him as quite a commander.
Yes.
And there you are. Tell me what kind of operation this was. This was a sighting in?
This was sighting in our weapons, getting everything ready. This was in Kuwait. When we first land, you're in Kuwait for about a month. Or no, a week rather. Seems like a month. And here we were sighting in our weapons, and as you can see, we have the headgear, the face gear over, because this was a sandstorm, horrible conditions.
Oh, I can tell. That's probably as desolate and more as it looks in
Indeed.
that picture, just as far just miles and miles and miles of nothing.
Yes, yes. Yeah, there was absolutely no landscape whatsoever.
So this was in April?
This was, no, this would have been the beginning of March, probably
Beginning of
March 1st, I would say.
So not as hot as it's going to be, but
No.
still pretty
you
warm.
know,
I
they
guess.
said it was the coolest temperature they've had on record over there, actually.
Oh, is that
we had a
right?
lot of rain when we first got there as well.
Okay. This is a picture that comes from your book. You all are mugging a little bit for the camera, and you're there in the middle with the laser.
That's correct. This is our communication staff. To the left, the gentleman holding up the handgun is Stuart Dinner. He works for the Texas Transportation Institute with me over here. He lives in Shire, Texas. Most everybody you have here is native Texan, actually. And to the far right with the Kevlar on is our S6, who is our communications officer, and behind him is Ernie Lamone, who is our comm chief.
I see. Okay. And there's you and your lovely bride.
The beautiful bride, that's right. This is my wife, Audrey. This is out at her grandparents' home off of Elma Whedon Road. This is our welcome home party. They surprised me with a cake. There's the command coin there on the cake.
Indeed. And she works for Texas A&M over at Teese, right?
She works at Teese, graphic designer, over at the Weissenbaker building.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit about this, but you have a hobby that you are just excellent at. I was at your office the other day, and you like to put together model airplanes, and you are pretty darn good at it.
Thank you.
These are just some of your models of some of these jet fighters.
Yeah.
We went through that one real quick. Now, but this one is the one that's just really impressive of this carrier, the Enterprise.
Yep, that'll be the Vietnam version of the Enterprise. It's about a 1970 version. I've got an air wing on there. They've since modernized it with a different island structure, and of course different aircraft. I don't think any of those aircraft are even in service anymore. Well, except for the E-2 Hawkeye you see on the bottom right there on the ground.
So about how many hours of fun did this take you to do this, would you say?
This is the biggest stress reliever that I've ever had. Whenever you're under stress, the ship itself is quick.
Right.
Get that knocked down a week. The planes, however,
Yeah.
you work on one of those a day.
The detail.
Oh, absolutely, and that's where my stress really also. I'm sitting there working. A lot of these came from Iraq, actually. Worked on these while I was over there, just to, again, just to relieve stress and have something different to do.
They are really fascinating. This final picture is you and a gentleman. I want to leave that up there. People who have been watching Veterans of the Valley remember the very first Seabee that I had on Veterans of the Valley. His name is James Rothermel. He is from Brenham, and that is the gentleman on the left. He's been a guest here. And you actually, I'm going to let you tell the story because it involves my radio show, actually, that I did with James Rothermel and how you came to meet him.
Listen to WTAW in the morning there. I just happened to hear Seabee and kept listening in. You were honoring him at Kyle Field. And this would have been in '06, in the fall of '06, and I was going to be deploying in January to California. So I got in touch with you, and you were more than happy to give me his contact information. Got in contact with him, kept in contact with him while in Iraq, sent him a flag that was flown over Al-Assad. And he gave me the most amazing gift. It was a little pin from World War II that his mother gave him while he was overseas. So he gave that to me. And this was just the greatest honor. I will treasure this always. This is now in a display case with all my medals, everything that I received while I was in Iraq, as well as a flag that flew over Al-Assad. And I sent him a flag, as I said, from Al-Assad. And they surprised me at the party over there at the Borsky home. And there he was. He was the first person I shook hands with, actually. I went straight up to him and knew exactly who he was, and I gave him a Seabee Combat Warfare pin, actually.
Well, I'll tell you what, if this show has been able to get you guys together and our work with veterans has been able to get you guys together right there. That just makes
That's
it all
it.
worth it right there.
Absolutely. God bless you for that.
And James Rothermel was a Seabee in the Pacific, as a matter of fact, and had a great story to tell. Matter of fact, you'll probably be seeing a repeat of that show here before very long. Mike, what I asked you this the other day, and I'm going to let you sort of address it. What would you say is the biggest misconception that we in the United States have about the war from the media reports? What would you like to, if you had a microphone to the entire country and could say, no, it's not really like that, it's like this? What would you say?
Before I deployed over there, I didn't have a favorite TV station, a favorite news outlet. I'd watch pretty much anything. From now on, all I watch is Fox News because that is fair and balanced, and that's the way it is, plain and simple. Sean Hannity, WTAW, with Neil Boortz. These guys tell how it is, and I cannot say anymore. That's the way it is, what they put out there. But people need to understand that what we see on the news is shown over there.
Right.
Not just to the servicemen, but to the Iraqi people.
Right.
They see that. So when you have certain people in office who tell us the surge isn't working, it'll never work, I was never for this, I could go, well, you know where I'm going. I'm not going to go too much into it, but they see that. And that gets people like me and my buddies over there, men and women, killed. So I get very passionate when, I hear a certain people of a political party.
Well, it empowers the enemy.
Empowers them, gives them motivation. They're like, yeah, we're winning this. Listen to what they're saying back home.
Right.
And that right there is getting people killed over there. The war was over in 2003. We accomplished, mission accomplished.
Right.
And then, where's the weapons of mass destruction?
Right.
Which, yeah, they're there.
Which that's a whole other speech that you can give.
We won't go into that.
Yeah. 5 more years in your this latest since you re-upped the last time, and then you'll have your 20 and a next deployment in 2010, headed to Afghanistan.
That's
What are your thoughts about that?
Ready to go. The wife and I, we need to have a baby. We're both wanting a child. We're in the process of getting a home right now. And that's something we're going to need to really work on, and it's still, you don't know what's going to happen around the corner. 2003, we were supposed to be, the end of Seabee 28 was to invade from the north, from Turkey. And our air day, went out to Guam, and we were 2 weeks away from being deployed, but then they shut us, Turkey denied us from launching the ground assault. So that counts as a full-scale deployment for all of us. Though those 120 people had to stay over there, for a year, we stayed back. So you never know what's going to happen. So, but if they call me right now, yeah, we're on it. And my wife has been more than supportive, as well as my family and friends. They're behind me 100% no matter what.
Well, that's doesn't surprise me. Just knowing you for the short time that I have, it doesn't surprise me that you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, and you're anxious to talk about, that the Seabees, besides doing what they do overseas, they're doing things right here in the United States, and not only the United States, right here at Bryan College Station.
Indeed.
Talk a little bit about sort of what people can drive around our town right now and see that is really the result of Seabees' work.
You look at the corner 2818 and the entrance to Easterwood Airport over there at Georgia Bush Drive, that obstacle course there, we built that in 2001. I received my first Naval Achievement Medal from that, actually. And we're going to do phase 2 here pretty quick, actually. And in fact, I got something for you here, actually. What did I do with that?
Is there something coming? Oh, okay.
There
what do we got here? Oh my goodness. This is my first 3 years, and this is my first gift.
There's your deployment T-shirt there.
Oh my
So
goodness!
you got the little
Look at
Seabee
that.
Combat Warfare pin on the front, and then
Oh
on the
my
back will be
goodness!
the
I've been
coin to
set
that.
up. Look at that. Oh, look at that. He gave me a coin the other day, and now I've got a shirt with my coin on the back. My goodness!
That'll be our deployment T-shirt. But
Mike.
again, going back to the the obstacle
Thank you
course.
very much.
Yeah. With that obstacle course, we're going to have 2 large towers visible. They're about 50 foot tall, rope tower going from one tower to the other.
Right.
So that'll be visible for miles around. It'll be definitely another structural site for here for the Bryan College Station area.
Wow.
So once we get that complete, that's just one small part of it.
That is fantastic. You came home in 2007, kind of had a hard time finding a job, and now you are working for Texas A&M at TTI. Talk a little bit about what you're doing there. You're a research associate.
Right, research associate. We deal a lot with a lot of our funding comes from TxDOT, federal grants as well. Wonderful lady by the name of Katie Womack is my supervisor over there, and like most recently, one of our projects was the Clicker Ticket campaign. We'll actually go out, stand on a street corner, see who's wearing their seatbelts in the front seat, you know, front passenger, as well as the driver. We'll collect the age, the race. We do this both at nighttime and during the daytime. This will be just all to see how effective the Clicker Ticket campaign is. We'll go out and talk to kids about seatbelt safety as well. We're visiting several different schools throughout the state of Texas. So it's definitely a big change from, you know, working, you know, I did security officer for UPD for 10 years, you know, wonderful experience there. It was the first time I ever met you, actually, during some of your sporting events over there. So all that time with A&M, 10 years is carried over, so we're well on our way to retirement with this as well.
That's wonderful. Mike joined the Navy in 1993. He went to Orlando to Navy boot camp. He came back and he served for 10 years, I believe, as a security officer at University Police Department. You finished at Blinn and then got your degree at Sam Houston State, and that's where you met your wife, Audrey.
That's where I met my wife, Audrey.
Right, and then it was on to the service. We're out of time. Thank you very much for your service.
Absolutely.
But
Thank
we're
you as
going to
well.
be visiting with you in later episodes. Thank you,
Indeed.
Mike Guidry. Mike Guidry is one of thousands of young men and women who put their life on hold to serve you and me in this war, and he is ready to go back when called. His video is a remarkable depiction of the camaraderie and, yes, the humor that prevails in a very difficult and stressful and sometimes dangerous war. We will feature his video in upcoming episodes of Veterans of the Valley. We salute Mike Guidry of the 28th Seabees for his service now and in the future. I'm Tom Turbeville. Join us next time on Veterans of the Valley.
In honor of the veterans who have served our country, both past and present, First National Bank, a Franklin family